You're listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Tanner Munson. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.
Hi, it's Louisa Tanner Munson, and this is part 6 of the Uranus series, where I take the planet Uranus and I look at what effect Uranus might have had if you were born with it in the 6th house in your natal chart, and what will happen if you have Uranus transiting or about to transit through your 6th house. So exploring what I can about Uranus and the 6th house as it might occur in your life. So the 6th house then, what is that to do with? The 6th house is really quite a busy house. It's about our day-to-day runnings of our life. It's quite a mundane and boring house in many respects because it just covers day-to-day stuff. So your daily workflow, it looks a little bit like your diet, you know, what you eat on a daily basis, your sleep patterns. It also looks at your health, predominantly your physical health, but it can show up with a bit of mental health as well. So it kind of captures just the day-to-day running of life. And if we were to transpose the 6th house and say, you know, which star sign is associated with the 6th house, that would be Virgo. And for any of you out there that know much about Virgo energy, it's very much day-to-day running. It's very service-orientated, so it's very much set up in the idea of working and giving your time. Virgos spend a lot of their life learning how to balance their work life in a way that works for them. And Virgos also have a kind of preoccupation with their physical health and their mental health and all things natural. So it kind of all ties in together, if that makes sense. Now, Uranus energy is the energy of rebellion and independence and creativity and spontaneity, channeling ideas. It's about where we find our freedom and our independence, where we stick our fingers up at authority. It's where we challenge the status quo and really challenge where we've been a bit too normal, and how we might excite the senses a little bit. So it's not a natural companion really with the activities of the 6th house, and Uranus being in the 6th house can have quite a disruptive effect. So let's have a think about what Uranus might do to somebody if they're born with a 6th house Uranus. So we're talking about somebody who has an insatiable urge to be independent from the day-to-day running of their lives. So somebody who might run their day-to-day lives in quite an unpredictable way. So it doesn't really fit that kind of person with a 6th house Uranus would be very happy going to school every day and having a very routine life. It might be useful at different times in the life where things get a bit overwhelming and when you're going through different developmental stages. But overall, somebody with a strong 6th house Uranus is not going to enjoy not having full autonomy and control over the day-to-day running of their life. It's going to be very stressful for them. And having Uranus in the 6th house and experiencing stress is really not good for the mind-body system, because Uranian type illnesses are very much sudden, unexplained, mysterious illnesses. So I would imagine that somebody with a very strong Uranus in the 6th house could, when they're not conditioned for the kind of life that they're leading, you know, when they're leading a life that really doesn't suit their tendencies and their feelings of purpose, then this is the kind of person that can get can get like a depressive illness that can affect them physically and affect their energy levels, but also somebody whose body has less natural protection from things. Because if you think about the 6th house, the routine and regularity is indicated by the 6th house is almost like a barrier. You know, like there's this part of me and then there's my barrier and then there's the rest of the world. With Uranus kind of in your 6th house, your barrier is stop-start. So sometimes you might be very strong in your defences of yourself and other times you might be very unbarriered. And so it could be that somebody who is is not happy with the day-to-day running of their life is more open and susceptible to sudden illnesses, to sudden infectious illnesses that come around, to sudden accidents, because Uranus is very much an environmental factor. I mean, Uranus on the world stage is very much to do with dramatic weather. I guess if you were to apply that to a personal level, you might say that the environment becomes unpredictable for somebody. So somebody might have an accident within their environment or find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. So there is that going on. And I would say if you've got a sixth house Uranus, that's something you need to be aware of. Is it's all good if you're feeling at peace with the way you're living your life on a day-to-day basis, if you've got enough excitement and difference and originality, and if you feel free to express yourself in the way that you work and in the way that you learn, then you're going to be quite happy, and the very best, highest aspects of Uranus are going to come out. But if you're trapped and really feeling trapped in a day-to-day prison from the Uranian perspective, then you are so much more likely to have the negative sides of Uranus come out and express themselves. So, if you are stressed and under duress during these times, you need to look after your health. You need to do things that support you, your mind-body system, and do things that help your mind, free your mind and get creative. So it's really important to maintain your autonomy. Now, someone with a very well-expressed Uranus in the sixth house might have, one of those kind of dream jobs, a really unusual job. Like there's lots of people now that work in their hobbies, like their hobbies become their life, like bloggers that have made surfing around the world their life story, or vagabond gypsy traveller, families touring the world and blogging. That's a very Uranian kind of way of life. It's one that my husband and I have aspired to a little bit, and funnily enough, Uranus is in my sixth house, like transiting my sixth house right now, as we are both finding that we want our life to be very free in our day-to-day running. So, I mean, it totally appeals to me in the way I'm living at the minute. But for people with a sixth house Uranus, it's really important that they find the kind of lifestyle that works for them, where they can find the freedom in the day-to-day running. So it might be people working different night shifts, or working miles away from home, or people that commute, or actually move countries to do their work. So there is a strong unpredictability. Like if their parents raised 5 children, they'd say, right, that one there, the one with the Uranus in the sixth house, they're the ones that are most likely to emigrate, to become a rocket scientist. Whatever it is that their life is involved in is just different. And it should be encouraged that these people are able to have control over the way they want to live their lives. It must be a nightmare for a parent of somebody with a sixth house Uranus, trying to get them into a routine. It will be an uphill struggle. Anyway, if you've got Uranus about to go through your sixth house, you need to consider where it's just been before. So, if Uranus has just come out of your fifth house, you've gone through quite a freeing time where your creative ideas on life, on sex, on lovemaking, on relationships, on birth, on your hobbies, has all been completely turned upside down. And from that, you should experience a lot more freedom. And so it makes sense that once you've freed up things on the personal level, that as Uranus moves into your sixth house to do with the day-to-day running of your life and your health, that you begin to extend the Uranian message further along into your life. And so it really makes sense that as Uranus approaches this place, that lots of people tend to go freelance, lots of people tend to ditch their traditional jobs and decide to make the switch to make money from actually what they're really passionate about. It also ties in with people having a different and alternative approach to their healthcare. Often with modernity and new technology coming in, finding new ways to look after their health and their mental health. It can represent breakdowns within your day-to-day running of your life. But I would say that would be what would happen if you don't allow yourself to bend and flex and change the way you live. The Uranian energy going through your 6th house is meant to awaken you to new beginnings and awaken you to a new freedom in the way you run your life. And I think with all Uranian energy, you have to let it be, because where it's trapped, it becomes untenable, and it sends out a different kind of shockwave through your life. I mentioned in previous recordings that Uranus is very much to do with environmental factors around the world, and it looks at natural disasters. It kind of is one of the key players in natural disasters. Neptune's another one. But Uranus, to do with natural disasters, is really indicative of the stress that Mother Earth holds within the crust and the core of Earth. If you think of all the trauma and energies, conflicting energies all around the world that is contained in Mother Earth, and then as the pressures and the energies get too intense, all of a sudden there's an explosion. Something has to give. A bit like, when you've got a pair of knickers that are too tight for you, at some point the knicker elastic's going to go. This is what happens to planet Earth, is that something has to blow, and there'll be a volcano erupting or an earthquake. Wherever there's a natural weakness in your life, the Uranian energy will come through. That's why places like the San Andreas Fault, as tensions grow within the Earth, the ring of fire on planet Earth is one of the first areas that seems to show the results of the shaking. We all have a weak point. And so if you've got Uranus going through your 6th house, you really need to think, where is my weak point? Because that's the bit that may well come up during that time. So think very long and hard about that. But my urge to you is to allow your life to be shaken up on your day-to-day running. I mean, that's the thing that Uranus is wanting to really change, is it wants you to find autonomy and freedom within your day-to-day running. So if you need different hours, if you need different working conditions, like work from home, if you need to be freelance, all of those things, you need to discuss those with your bosses if you're working for somebody, or find ways, work ahead of time so you can incorporate that into your life, so this whole thing isn't such a shock. Of course, after Uranus being in the 6th house, it goes into the 7th house of people and relationships. So it's really important and vital that you get your energies really settled into a new, free, liberating pattern. So when Uranus goes into your 7th house, you're less likely to take it out on the people, and the people are less likely to take it out on you. So think it through and plan your life as Uranus goes through your 6th house. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. And indeed, if Uranus is about to go through your 6th house, or you have it in your 6th house, you may well feel the rumblings of it when life feels a bit too archaic or traditional. So give me a shout if you want to discuss any of these themes within your own chart, and hopefully all will be very, very well. Anyway, take care. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Tanner Munson, and this recording has been made possible by all you lovely supporters at Patreon. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.